What is good and what is up, y'all? It's your boy here, Jay, back and better than ever with another episode of Padres Banter. The Padres are on a whirlwind of a roller coaster, winning series, losing series left and right. But at the end of the day, coming out with a split against a very, very good Cardinals team and now headed to Milwaukee to face off against the Brewers, another NL Central team. But let's get all into it right here on Padres Banter. What's up, y'all, and welcome back to another episode of Padres Banter. The Padres are on an absolute roller coaster, winning series, losing series, winning series, splitting series, making sure that we don't get out of line and make sure we're not, too far behind the eight ball with the NL West race. At the end of the day, that is the goal, but making the playoffs is the goal. Having winning series each and every series that we step into is the goal for the San Diego Padres, and personally, I think should be the goal continuously so that you can shorten the marathon because it is a 162 game season, and looking at it from a grand total perspective, it's like we got a long ways to go, but managing to win each series day by day, game by game, pitch by pitch, I think is the goal here, and the Padres are managing to do so after what looked like they were going to get swept in this 4 game series from the St. Louis Cardinals that came down to visit the San Diego Padres in San Diego. And like I said, looked like they were going to get swept, but at the end of the day, having that fighting spirit, that comeback spirit that they've had all season long, and now 4 walk-off wins. I don't know if that, I think that leads the league for teams, but at the end of the day, it's just what you want to see from a team who hasn't really had their bats going just yet. Tatis hasn't hit a home run, and Castellanos has been somewhat of a clutch gene for, AJ Preller in his pickup. So let's get all right to it right here in this Padres banter and how we got to this very, very moment. The Pods are on a roller coaster of emotion currently as the Padres split the series versus the Cardinals at home after winning the series versus the Giants and after losing back-to-back series to the Chicago Kids and the Cubs and the White Sox. Both took the series back-to-back versus the Padres in San Diego. It did look bleak starting the past couple series with 4 straight L's at one point, but now back to somewhat winning ways. But what never dies is the comeback spirit of this Padres team, and now 4 walk-offs this season. Tatis has yet to hit a home run, which is astonishing in the 2026 season, and is frustrated beyond belief after a warning track shot 2 days ago, but he manages to still hit the ball hard. Some of the hardest hitting balls in the league. And I think that, you know, he is frustrated, not only because he's coming so close, but because a lot of his, hits that he is, or in contact that he's has is going right to defenders and right to fielders. And it's just, I know from at least my experience, it's extremely frustrating. It's frustrating for anybody when you see something you square up so square and it goes right to somebody and it results in absolutely nothing. And he's one of 3 qualified hitters right now to not hit a home run, so I know he's extremely frustrated. But I think the thing is bottom line, it's hard to hit a home run. And I know he's one of the better hitters and one of the better players in the game, but once you get into that, once it starts to trickle into your mind that you can't start to do something, it's really hard to try and flip the switch, especially when you're playing every single day. Maybe taking a week break, coming back might spark something. I don't know, but I know from an experience standpoint that it's just hard to do things when you know it's not going your way in that specific category and home runs in general. And it's already hard enough to hit a home run against these pitchers that are pitching 100 miles an hour every day. So at the end of the day, it'll come. Keep hitting the ball hard, and I like that he's not striking out as much, and I think that's the biggest thing for me. Cronenworth looks lost at the plate and lost in general. So we went ahead and sent him down, and we don't know what the future holds after we sent him down for a concussion, but also just bad after, you know, the past couple of months. It just hasn't been well, hitting sub 200. And yeah, it's time to have that Jake conversation. Do we bring him back and make sure that he's okay? Or do we, send him down a little rehab? I don't know. But after the addition of Sungwoon Song, who just came up and delivered his first extra base hit, first hit and RBI all in one swing when we played the Giants. So that's awesome to see. He's been pretty good. I think defensively, obviously, he's been electric, but we need to get that bat going because that's really the difference maker between him and Jake Cronenworth. Griffin Canning also made his first start last week and looked very solid, and we are still looking for that first Giolito start. Estrada looks back to normal, bringing him back up, and Bueller looks solid, and Morejon looks like his all-star self again in the bullpen, so I'm glad to see the pitching, coming around. But our bats, like I said, are just, you know, not coming around as much, even though we are winning. The pitching has been able to save us. But the bats will explode here, so it just depends, I guess, on what day you want to be able to watch the Padres, because sometimes there'll be 10 runs, sometimes there'll be 15 hits. Next day will be no hits and no runs. But before we dive into the analysis, let's gloss over how we got into this moment, like I had mentioned. The White Sox series. White Sox went ahead and took the series from the Padres in commanding fashion, winning the first two games 8-2 and 4-0, as the Pods bats were absolutely dead. Dead, as in not hitting with runners on base, as the Padres actually only got out hit by one hit in the series, but could not hit with runners in scoring position, going 4 for 20 in the series, leaving 20 men on base. Marquez looked not so good in his first going. 5 innings pitched, 5 hits, 7 runs. King would also have a pretty good outing next game. 6 innings pitched, 7 hits, 4 runs, and Canning finished off the series great with 5 innings pitched, 3 hits, and 1 run, as we managed to avoid the sweep in the last game of the series. But the White Sox, led by their league-leading home run king in Murakami, came in and slayed a dragon, managing to stay at bay in their division, only so many games behind in that AL Central. And also playing hot baseball, Schultz and Burke also dealt against the Padres and showed that they are pretty dominant. And this team has a lot of young talent, and it's very, very interesting to see what they could probably do in the next couple of years. But the bright side is we avoided the sweep, heading north to the Bay Area, to the Yay area, actually, to face off against the Gigantes. But now the Giants series, as we went ahead and won this series in game 1. The Pods would drop game 1 2-3, as the Giants would call up AAA pitcher Trevor McDonald, who would then set the season high for strikeouts for their staff with 8 Ks on the day versus the Padres, looking like prime Matt Cain dealing versus the Friars, who at the time could not hit if their lives were on the line. I'm talking about the Padres. Vasquez had backed up his last rough start with the latest, which wasn't terrible, but he knows he can be better with 5 2/3, 5 hits, 3 runs on 88 pitches. Again, he knows he can be better, and it just didn't have his best stuff that day, and the offense couldn't back him up, only having 3 hits on the day, 2 for Liriano, 1 for Merrill with a madness bomb. In the end, the Giants prevailed and managed to get the win and could win the series in Game 2. In Game 2, the Pods had enough after a 4-game skid and would go out in Game 2 and rake like they know how to, putting up 10 runs winning 10-5 with 14 hits. Everyone except Manny and Bryce Johnson got a hit, which is amazing to see the team hitting all around. Bogey goes yard for his 6th of the season. Love to see him most likely eclipse 15 home runs this season, maybe. He hasn't done it since his first season with the Padres, hitting 19, but his most ever is 33 with Boston, so we can possibly see that this year. Like what I'm seeing from the lineup in this game sheets, I'm loving his swing lately, and Castellanos manages to keep surprising me with his stick. Bueller didn't have, to pitch with much pressure later in the game, but ran into some jams early and managed to work through troubles even after giving up early runs. He settled down and found his stuff. I'm going to ride with Bueller, and I think he's going to be solid for us if we can manage to hit with the pitching, and he'll be fine. Estrada, Adam, and Marinaccio closed it down, and the Pods managed to work out and win, and managed to see what we could do in the rubber match on Wednesday afternoon. Rubber match. Pods would look to take the first series in 2 series and would do so in the rubber match 5-1 after it was a tighter game than what the score presented, as it was 1-1 till late. 7th rolled around, and the Padres managed to get 2 runs across with a Ty France triple to right field line. Before that, some Derry Bonds action in the McCovey Cove and a splash hit. Xander would go ahead and seal the game with a 2-run shot in the 7th. Bradley Rodriguez was the opener for the Padres, managing to do very well, and then Waldron would come in later and really kind of surprise everybody because of the fact that he hasn't really had his stuff all season long, and really showed that he has his stuff now and hoping that he maybe turned a corner. Who knows? But the Pods went ahead and won the rubber match to go ahead and take that series. But now would flip the script against a really young and hot Cardinals team who looked to at least sweep the Padres at first, but only would get the split as the Padres would get 2 games out of this 4-game series. In game 1 of the series, the Padres would drop the first game against the Cardinals for the 3rd straight series in a row, 2-1 in a pitcher's duel. So the Pods 3 straight series to start the series in game 1 with a loss, not looking too well. So hoping to start it different today when we play the Milwaukee Brewers to start this series with a dub. But Matthew Liberatore and Michael King absolutely dealt with a pitching duel. Liberatore going 6 innings, pitched 3 hits, 1 run, 3 walks, 6 Ks on 81 pitches, and Michael King one-upped him, going 6 innings, pitched 1 hit, 1 run, 2 walks, 6 Ks on 86 pitches, both absolutely on fire. But the Cardinals bullpen prevailed on this night of Mason Miller bobblehead as Bradley would come in and give up 1 run to make it 2-1, and the Padres bats would mostly be silent all night long. Once again, 1-for-1 with runners in scoring position, got the hit, but only 1 at bat with runners in scoring position is just unacceptable. Got to find a way to hit with runners in scoring position, but also get runners on base. The Pods had 4 hits to the Cardinals 5 as the Cardinals take game 1. Rodolfo Duran did make his MLB debut on that day to start with at catcher, which was awesome to see. Didn't get his first knock, but since Luis Campusano went on the IL with left toe fracture, we will see what happens next with that. But also news on Jake Cronenworth going on. We'll see if we get him back soon as well. In game 2, it was even worse, not to mention attending this game with my grandpa for the first time in 4 years, and it was abysmal. I mean, my grandpa hadn't been to a Padres game in a long time, and man, it was just not it. It wasn't it. And to go to this game of all games was just, of course, perfect timing. But the Padres would lose 6-0 as they would only tally 1 hit to the Cardinals 11. Canning starting and didn't look bad, but after 1 error, everything got worse. Tatis happened to have the ball go under his glove, managing for 4 runs to score in a Little League home run, and went, like I said, under his glove, and Weatherholt took advantage and scored all the way. Canning would finish, but would end with 4 1/3, 7 hits, 6 runs, 2 walks, 5 Ks on 83 pitches. And like I said, not much from the bats, only getting 1 hit and having 2 ABs with runners in scoring position all night. Just terrible. So there wasn't much to talk about that game because it was an absolutely abysmal game. It was cool. I got in the suite though, got some free food, but yeah, got this hat. But outside of that, it was absolutely abysmal game 2. And the Cardinals looked to go into game 3 to possibly go up 3-0 in the series and win the series here. And game 3 looked scary to start, but the Padres managed to put a stop to the madness of not scoring or hitting and putting up a crooked number after 13 innings of not scoring a run in this Cardinals series, and would go on to win 4-2. Vasquez had a better outing, going 5 innings pitched, 6 hits, 1 run, no walks, 6 Ks on 94 pitches, back to his old self and managing to absolutely deal. Fermin had a multi-hit game as Tatis and Machado also joined the party, managing to scrape some runs across, this time 1 for 3 with runners in scoring position, and managing to get that knock win needed. Estrada, Adam, Morajón, and Miller closed the door with the 12th save for Miller, leading the league in saves. Absolutely ridiculous. You know, the Reaper is going to continue to do historic stuff, but the Pods managed to go ahead and win the ball game and get the runs when needed after 13 innings of not scoring a run in a series. Can't happen. That can't happen, guys. In game 4 and in the decisive game 4, the Padres looked like they had their backs against the wall all the way till the last pitch with the Nick Clutch Castellanos hit as he went ahead with bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, 3-2 count, down by 2, runner on third. He's up to bat. He manages to put this into the bleachers and tie the ball game with X on third base when all odds were against him and for the team, especially after he broke his bat, went in to get a new bat, which happened to be Fernando Tatis's bat, which is ironic as hell. and going and getting a home run and tying the ball game and not losing the series and splitting the series was absolutely fantastic. And the comeback spirit of this team and what I had been lamenting to earlier on. And it's like I said, he keeps surprising me after he breaks his bat, goes 0-2 in the count. Not just breaks his bat, but 0-2 in the count, goes to the dugout, gets a new bat, takes 3 pitches, and then puts an absolute rocket into the left field bleachers with Tatis's bat. It's just ironic. And to the reporter who asked, "Are you going to give him shit for him? You doing it before him with his bat?" Ridiculous question. I wish I was in your shoes to take your job because of what kind of idiocy that is going through your head to be able to ask that question, knowing that that is just what I had lamented to earlier. It's already in his head. Why are we going to continue to do this? I don't like journalism like that, and it's just infuriating to hear and see. And knowing that type of deal, it's like I wish I just had that job because it's ridiculous that people of that nature that think like that. That's the first question that you have. Not even first, second, third, fourth. Why is that even being asked? It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But Castellanos has been clutch all year and has really shown the effort mentality, and I love that from him. Bueller looked great, just had one mistake, leaving a slider up to Jordan Walker, but he pitched well outside of that, recording 13 straight outs after the home run and giving the team a chance, which they took advantage of. But the Pods went into extras where the bullpen would shut it down after Manny would then walk it off with a sac fly, and the Cardinals loaded the bases for the Padres. The comeback kids were alive, but the Pods got the dub and split the series versus the hot Cardinals, man. And it just shows the comeback spirit, like I had lamented to. This team continues to just, you know, continues to just continue to hit, or not hit, but just continue to fight and find a way because, whew, man, sometimes it's like, I don't know. But the Pods have been up and down lately. Now let's get into some team rankings because we need to get into that. But now getting into some team offense, defense, and pitching rankings just to go ahead and gloss over it right now because I feel like this is a much needed, time to gloss over just rankings when it comes to hitting and pitching and defense because right, early in the season, it doesn't really matter, but I think now it's starting to matter a little bit more. But let's go. Team hits per game. As of right now, it's not looking really great. We're actually 29th out of 30th when it comes to, hits per game. We're sitting at 7.3 hits per game, which is not good. I'm imagining that runs is also going to be very, very low. And it is at 19. We're sitting at 19th in runs per game with 425. Now let's go to home runs per game. And yeah, 19 again, right under one home run per game. Now let's get into the batting average. And I think this is really going to speak volumes here. 223 as a team, 28th in the entire MLB. And I obviously think that everybody sees what I'm seeing when it comes to the New York Mets being right below us, which is astounding with that lineup that they have. But yeah, you can't win ball games when you're batting 223 as a team. You can't. And in the last 10 games, last 3 games, we're batting 112. Not good. Not good. And we're batting worse at home. So tell me how that makes sense. Tell me how that makes sense. We're 30 points lower than what we were last year. It just needs to be better. It really just needs to be better. I don't understand how you can manage to almost hit sub 200 as a team. It's not okay. It's not okay. But now let's get into on base percentage. And I think this is a big indicator of why this team isn't doing what you think it should be doing. 28th. We can talk about batting average, we can talk about hits, we can talk about all that stuff. But getting on base and having the opportunity for you to drive in runs, not even hitting the ball. You don't have to hit the ball to get on base. You can get hit by a pitch. You can literally, I just learned that you can balk to first base. You can also walk. Okay, we are abysmal. 297 on base percentage, 28th in the entire league. It's yeah, it's bad. It's bad, guys. It's bad. But at least we're not striking out a whole lot. 16th in the league in strikeouts, so that's pretty subpar. Um, on par, I guess you could say, because there are a lot of guys on our team that strike out, and to be 16th is not terrible. But I also think this is a this is pretty good. This is one thing that is a bright side. You're still in a bag of games so far, tied for fourth in the league. So that's great. But outside of that, guys, it's just not looking great offensively. And this is exactly why this team is not winning the ball games when they should, at least. They should be winning more ball games and with authority, but also putting a gap between the Dodgers right now because everybody else is struggling. This is the time for you to take advantage of what is happening in the standings. And I don't think that the Padres are doing that right now. I hope that they take advantage today. They win today. And they manage to find a way to get some. I mean, yeah, we can be a half game or one game. That's fun and all, great stuff, I guess. That's obviously great stuff because you're a game ahead. But at the end of the day, can we start to create a gap? The Dodgers are not looking good by any means. And we're just sitting here casually just like, okay, put the gas pedal on. Put the pedal to the metal and let's go. Let's start to create a divide. And I know that we're not playing great baseball. We're not hitting the baseball like we want. Nobody is. But this is the opportunity for you to go ahead and make a gap in the standings. And that's what they're not doing. And it's just, I don't know. It's kind of frustrating. It's kind of frustrating. Excuse my stomach growling at me. But now let's get into some pitching statistics. As right now, when it comes to strikeouts, we are 15th in the league in strikeouts when it comes to our pitching staff. ERA, we're looking at 16th in the league in ERA. Excuse my stomach again, man. I probably should go eat. 20th in the league in hits. And when it comes to giving up home runs, we are 7th in the league. So that's pretty good. We're not terrible when it comes to giving up home runs, so that's great. Our whip, it's crazy the Dodgers whip is 1. Our whip is 9, which is pretty decent. 1.23 with that. And 3 shutouts. That's not bad. That's not terrible. That is not terrible. 3 shutouts, and I believe we have 14 saves from Mason Miller. So 13, because someone else has the other one. But either way, pitching is looking solid right now. I mean, and we're pretty much sitting where I think we would sit when it comes to ERA, shutouts, innings pitched, hits, and whip. Our opposing average, is at 11. So yeah, our pitching has been solid. I think that it's really our hitting that needs to, hit the corner. Defensively, we're always going to be pretty solid. I think that we have, managed to be fielding pretty well this season. But at the end of the day, the hitting is what is really sidetracking this team and making them go, awry sometimes. And it feels like, well, are we ever going to get this thing going? We're going to get this train going. I know it's a marathon. I know it's a 162 game season. But like I just mentioned, you want to create a divide in the standings between the Los Angeles Dodgers, who are not playing good baseball right now, and you're going to play them in a week, and you want to be able to sweep them or at least take a couple games from them. And that's just from our vantage point and what we want to do. But managing to do that before the series starts so that we don't have to try and figure it out right before we play the Dodgers, I think is prime and what we should do. But overall, the Padres could be in a worse position for the type of baseball that they are being playing. For being such a bad hitting team, this team finds a way to keep themselves in the game and close enough for comeback wins. It is sustainable for one. Is it sustainable for 162? No. But will it look like a pretty record and people believe we have one of the best teams? Yes. At first, I believe the pitching wouldn't matter because we aren't hitting, and I take that back. The pitching obviously matters and will always matter. But in my point, I'm trying to make, it's just not the best way to try and win games or in general because pitching can't swing a bat. But regardless, what pitching does, what does do, is keep you in the game and I have taken that for granted because of our hitting has been so bad that it's glossed over our pitching to try and win games. But, you know, in the end, the Padres could be in a worse position, like I had said, contractually and record wise. And so with that, I just, take my medicine and be happy. And, the Padres are tied for first as we speak. And all I can ask for is regardless, if it's pretty, we are where we are. Okay. And so, I need to be happy in the fact that, the pitching is keeping us in these games and giving us an opportunity to try and win these ball games. But let's see how we fare against two solid clubs in the Brewers and the Mariners this week, both on the road to see if we can manage to get 7 straight wins. The Brewers are hot right now coming off a sweep, so we're going to have to see what they got going. A walk-off of their last series. So, we'll see. The Brewers are hot. The Mariners have been looking pretty decent lately, and they're going to want revenge for the earlier series this season. So let's see it. Let's see the Pods try and take advantage. Then next week, we got the Dodgers, baby. But we'll be back after this series or the next, all here with some more Padres banter. We out.